In the decades preceding the Battle of Manzikert in 1071, the Byzantine Empire, once a dominant force in the Eastern Mediterranean and heir to the legacy of Rome, found itself in a prolonged and multifaceted decline. The 11th century proved especially turbulent for Byzantium, marked by internal power struggles, administrative corruption, economic difficulties, and a steady erosion of its military capabilities. After the death of Emperor Basil II in 1025, widely regarded as the last strong and effective ruler of the Macedonian dynasty, the empire entered a period of instability. His successors lacked his authority and strategic vision, and a series of ineffectual and often short-reigned emperors contributed to the weakening of centralized power. Military aristocrats vied for control, civil wars became common, and the imperial bureaucracy became increasingly inefficient. Simultaneously, the Byzantine economy began to falter. Landed elites grew in power and wealth at the expense of the peasantry and the state's fiscal base, while over-reliance on mercenaries and the gradual disbanding of the once formidable thematic armies left the empire vulnerable. The eastern frontier, once guarded by a network of fortified themes, provinces, became increasingly exposed to incursions from nomadic and semi-nomadic groups, particularly the rising Seljuk Turks. The Seljuk Turks, a branch of the Oghuz Turkic tribes, emerged as a formidable force in the Islamic world by the mid-11th century. Under the leadership of capable rulers like Tughril Beg and later his successor Alp Arslan, the Seljuks established a powerful sultanate centered in Persia and Mesopotamia. Their swift and mobile cavalry forces, disciplined military organization, and religious fervor as defenders of Sunni Islam enabled them to expand rapidly westward. As they pushed into eastern Anatolia and Armenia, they began to encroach on Byzantine-held territory, leading to a series of increasingly aggressive border skirmishes. These raids were not merely opportunistic. They were part of a broader strategy of territorial acquisition and religiously framed conquest. By the time Romanos for Diogenes assumed the imperial throne in 1068, the Byzantine Empire was in dire need of military reform and decisive leadership. Romanos, a seasoned general, recognized the Seljuk threat and sought to restore the army strength, reorganize the eastern frontier, and assert imperial authority. His efforts, however, were hampered by internal opposition from the Constantinopolitan elite and rival factions at court, including the powerful Ducas family. Despite these challenges, Romanos mounted several military campaigns aimed at checking the Seljuk advance. Tensions between the Byzantines and Seljuks reached a boiling point as both sides prepared for a major confrontation. Romanos led a large, though unwieldy and politically divided, army into eastern Anatolia in an attempt to decisively crush Seljuk incursions. Unbeknownst to him, Alp Arslan was also on the move, leading his forces northward in a swift campaign that would bring the two powers into direct conflict. The resulting clash near the town of Manzikert in 1071 would prove to be one of the most consequential battles in medieval history. The Byzantine defeat at Manzikert did not merely represent a lost battle, it signaled the beginning of a dramatic shift in the balance of power in the Near East. Romanos IV was captured, Byzantine morale was shattered, and the Seljuks gained a foothold in Anatolia, which would eventually become the heartland of the Turkish peoples. In the aftermath, civil war erupted in Byzantium, further weakening the empire and accelerating the loss of its eastern provinces. The road was now open for the gradual Turkification and Islamization of Anatolia, a transformation that would profoundly reshape the cultural and political landscape of the region for centuries to come. The region surrounding Manzikert, located in the eastern part of Anatolia near Lake Van, held immense strategic significance in the 11th century. As a vital crossroads between the Byzantine Empire and the expanding Seljuk Sultanate, it served as both a military choke point and a conduit for lucrative trade routes stretching from the Caucasus to Mesopotamia. Control over this frontier region meant more than simple territorial gain. It offered economic advantage, influence over local Armenian principalities, and a buffer against further incursions. For the Byzantines, reclaiming this territory was not only a matter of pride, but a pressing necessity in the face of rising Seljuk aggression. Emperor Romanos IV Diogenes, determined to halt the empire's decline, saw in Manzikert an opportunity to assert imperial dominance, restore Byzantium's eastern frontier, and unify a fractured state under strong leadership. His campaign was as much a political gambit as a military endeavor, aimed at legitimizing his rule and curbing the power of rival noble families in Constantinople. On the other side, Sultan Alp Arslan, already victorious in the Islamic world and respected as a brilliant commander, sought to secure his western flank, demonstrate Seljuk supremacy, and open Anatolia to further Turkic settlement. For him, the confrontation promised both strategic security and ideological triumph in the name of jihad. As both armies converged near Manzikert in the summer of 1071, a heavy sense of foreboding settled over the land. The rugged highlands and arid plateaus, scarred by years of conflict, became the stage for what would become a decisive turning point in medieval history. Byzantine soldiers, many of them mercenaries and feudal levies of uncertain loyalty, faced a disciplined and agile Seljuk force well suited to the terrain. Soldiers on both sides could feel the weight of history bearing down on them. The battle to come would not merely decide a border dispute, it would determine the future of Anatolia and the fate of two great empires standing on the edge of irreversible change. As dawn broke over the plains near Manzikert on August 26, 1071, the stillness of morning was soon shattered by the thunder of hooves, the clash of steel, and the anguished cries of the wounded. Dust rose in choking clouds, mingling with the acrid stench of sweat, blood, and fear, as the Byzantine and Seljuk armies collided in a storm of violence. Emperor Romanos IV Diogenes, mounted in imperial regalia, began the day with a sense of cautious optimism. He commanded a numerically superior force, composed of native troops, mercenaries, and allied contingents, including Armenians, Normans, and Pechenegs. But his fatal decision to split his army weakened the Byzantine position from the outset. Romanos ordered a portion of his forces to secure the nearby fortress of Kliat, leaving his remaining troops stretched thin. Seizing the opportunity, Sultan Alp Arslan, a master of mobile warfare, implemented a series of calculated, feigned retreats, a hallmark of Seljuk military doctrine. His horse archers harassed the Byzantine lines, drawing them out and exhausting their formations. As the sun dipped lower in the sky, Alp Arslan launched a sudden and devastating encirclement. Panic rippled through the Byzantine ranks, compounded by the ultimate betrayal. The commander of the reserve forces, Andronikos Doukas, son of the powerful Doukas family and rival to Romanos, refused to send reinforcements, instead retreating from the field and sealing the emperor's fate. In the chaos, pockets of fierce resistance emerged. Loyal soldiers fought with desperate valor, defending their standards and comrades against the encroaching tide. Yet courage could not reverse the disaster. Romanos was captured alive, an unprecedented humiliation for a reigning Byzantine emperor. As darkness fell, the battlefield lay littered with corpses, a gruesome testament to a day of shattered ambitions and irreversible loss. The earth, soaked in blood, bore witness to a civilizational shift. Anatolia, the empire's eastern heartland, was now open to Turkish conquest and settlement. The Battle of Manzikert did not just mark a military defeat, it heralded the slow, inexorable unraveling of the Byzantine Empire, and its echoes would haunt the medieval world for generations to come. The battle's legacy extended far beyond the borders of Anatolia. Manzikert sounded alarm bells across Christendom, and helped catalyze the call for the First Crusade just a few decades later. It became a stark symbol of imperial vulnerability and the ever-shifting tides of fortune in the medieval world. For Byzantium, it served as a grim reminder of how ambition, miscalculation, and internal division could undo centuries of imperial dominance. For the Seljuks and their successors, it was the gateway to a new epoch of expansion and cultural ascendancy. Ultimately, the Battle of Manzikert was more than a military disaster. It was a historical inflection point. It redrew the geopolitical map of the Near East, set in motion a chain of events that would shape Christian-Muslim relations for centuries, and highlighted the enduring truth that empires, no matter how mighty, remain vulnerable to the forces of change. The Battle of Manzikert stands as a defining turning point in medieval history, signaling the beginning of the Byzantine Empire's decline and the ascent of the Seljuk Turks. This pivotal clash not only redrew the political map of Anatolia, but also ignited centuries of cultural and military tension between East and West. As we reflect on its legacy, we're reminded that ambition, leadership, and strategic choices can reshape civilizations. Understanding these dynamics deepens our appreciation for the complexities of history and the fragility of empires. If you found this exploration insightful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more deep dives into the events that shaped our world.